For families, New Year's Eve is a time of rest, celebration, or gift-giving. For the young girl of this story, everything started the same. She was only 18 years old, with her whole life and dreams ahead of her. What seemed like a wonderful moment was darkened by a murder. Nancy Mestre was born in 1975 in Barranquilla, Colombia, a large city with over 1 million people. She lived with her parents, Martin Mestre and Nancy Varga, and her brother. Nancy had always been social and happy, enjoying a strong bond of respect and affection with her parents. Her mother was her greatest teacher, and her father her best friend. The family was well respected, allowing Nancy to receive an excellent education. She attended one of the country's top schools, Marymount College, and while perfecting her English, she began dreaming of studying in the United States, a country that fascinated her. She dreamed of living there. On the afternoon of 1993, the family was preparing to attend a holiday party. Initially, they were supposed to celebrate elsewhere, but due to unforeseen circumstances, plans changed. Nancy's brother had recently suffered a serious football injury, preventing him from walking or continuing his training for a while. As a result, they decided to celebrate at home. There was also another reason to celebrate. Nancy had been accepted to a U.S. university. Her dream of moving to the United States was becoming a reality. Unfortunately, the joy was short-lived. At 1:44 p.m., a businessman named Jaime Enrique Asana de Carmani visited the family's home. He was 10 years older than Nancy, but despite the age difference, he had already requested permission from her parents to visit on New Year's Eve. Prior to this, they had spent little time together, but he came from a well-respected family, which had reassured her parents. Nancy also wanted to celebrate the new year with her family, but her parents set an important condition. She had to be home by 3 a.m., and her date was responsible for ensuring this. The couple agreed and left to enjoy their night. When they didn't return on time, her parents were not immediately alarmed, thinking they had simply lost track of time. They didn't want to ruin the festive spirit with threats or scolding, so they left a light on the stairs and went to bed. However, hours later, Nancy's father woke up to check and saw that his daughter still hadn't returned. This filled him with worry, as her room remained empty. He started searching for her, visiting all the popular clubs where she might have been that night. However, her mobile phone wasn't responding, and there wasn't yet enough reason to contact the police. The father also tried contacting Nancy's friends, but none of them had any idea where she was either. At this point, he was very concerned. Pause 5S. When finding a daughter in any of the clubs was not possible, the man went to the house of Jaime, who took his daughter and had to bring her home. He assumed that his daughter could be there. Here, he found his mother, washing her son, who was taking a shower of blood. It looked quite scary. For the question of her father, she answered that her son and Nancy went to the hospital, and the blood on the floor was from her daughter. For more questions, the woman could not answer. She even didn't know what happened with Nancy and in what state she is now. The nervous father of the girl jumped in a car and got in the hospital. All this was in the 6 a.m. When he got to the hospital, he met the father of the guy, who told him an incredible story. As Nancy that night, being in their house, had made an attempt to end her life, shooting her in the head with a gun. Father didn't believe this story. For the girl's parents, it had no sense. She never given any symptoms of depression. She had no reason to question her mental health. The young student was friendly, happy, and more than that. She had just been getting a dream of coming to the university in USA. She was waiting for this trip, and everything was perfect in her life. She had no reason for depression, and more also, no reason to end her life. They didn't believe that she would do it in the New Year's night, in a friend's house. It just didn't fit her. He talked to the man who took his daughter to the hospital, and he shared with him the information. They said that Nancy had been brought to them completely naked. She was just covered in a dust, and she did not give signs of life. On her body and her hair had traces of sand, earth, and some plants, as if she was being pulled in the forest. All this was not like the story that got from the father of the guy. His daughter was supposed to spend the evening in the house of his family, and to eat with them. Why she was naked, why she was in the dust and with the plants in her hair, there was something wrong. The situation was heartbreaking, and Martin was full of pain, knowing that his daughter's life was brutally cut. Pause 5S. The man called his wife and told her what had happened. Hearing the news, the entire family rushed to the hospital, but the prognosis wasn't good. Nancy suffered severe injuries, and despite doctors' efforts, she remained in a coma for 8 days. Numerous surgeries were performed, but nothing could save her. On January 9, 1994, after doctors confirmed she wouldn't survive, the family made the heartbreaking decision to remove her from life support. They gathered around, singing her favorite song, Faris. Nancy passed away without ever regaining consciousness to tell her story. Nancy's family never believed the story provided by her boyfriend, Haim, and sought a police investigation into what really happened that night. They suspected Haim's family was hiding something, and they demanded a thorough inquiry into the circumstances surrounding her tragic death. Pause 5S. Law enforcement began an investigation into Nancy's death at the request of her family. A forensic exam revealed key evidence that contradicted the boyfriend Haim's account. Gunpowder residue was found on Nancy's left side, making it impossible for her to have shot herself in the right side. Additionally, forensic tests showed she had been sexually assaulted by 2 men, and her injuries indicated resistance, confirming that she had been a victim of rape. Under her fingernails, experts found traces of skin, suggesting she fought back during the attack. Pause 5S. The evidence collected by law enforcement in Nancy's case indicated that her boyfriend Haim was lying about the circumstances of her death. Gunshot residue found on the wrong side of her body contradicted the claim of suicide, and further forensic tests revealed evidence of sexual assault and resistance. A weapon and blood-stained clothing were found in Haim's house, linking him to the crime. The case was reclassified as a homicide, and Haim, along with his family, became the prime suspects. The investigation awaited further forensic results to conclusively charge the culprits. Pause 5S. The public was shocked and protested, demanding justice for Nancy. As the investigation continued, her father, Martin, received an anonymous letter claiming that the motive for the murder was Nancy catching her boyfriend cheating. The letter stated that in fear of being exposed, Haim killed her, attempting to hide the crime. Initially, the killers planned to dump her in the forest but realized she was still alive, so they took her to the hospital. Despite the letter's content, the anonymous sender was never identified. Pause 5S. During the investigation, Haim disappeared, likely trying to evade responsibility as an arrest warrant was issued for him on charges of sexual assault and premeditated murder. His relatives claimed they couldn't contact him, raising further suspicion. Despite his absence, the trial proceeded in his absence. Evidence presented, including his DNA on the victim and under her nails, alongside gunpowder residue on his hands, pointed to his guilt. A neighbor's testimony also confirmed that she had witnessed suspicious events that night, strengthening the case against him. Pause 5S. The neighbor initially claimed to have heard voices and pleas for help from the girl, followed by a gunshot. However, when it came time for her official testimony, she retracted her statement, likely out of fear. Despite her reversal, the Colombian court found Haim guilty on all counts and sentenced him to 27 years in prison for sexual assault and the murder of Nancy. An international search was initiated through Interpol, but multiple leads and sightings across Latin America yielded no results. Pause 5S. Haim's wealthy parents provided him with resources to evade justice, allowing him to hide anywhere in the world with falsified documents. The tragedy shattered PD Nancy's family, leading her parents to divorce. Her brother moved to the US and her mother relocated to Spain. Martin, Nancy's father, a former Navy officer, refused to accept the injustice and took matters into his own hands by using technology to track Haim. He created 4 fake social media profiles, posing as men and women of Arab nationality, attempting to build contact with the fugitive's family. Pause 5S. Martin gained the trust of Haima's family through social media and began monitoring their communications. Initially lacking skills, he spent years learning techniques that eventually led him to clues. After 26 years, Martin's efforts paid off when he noticed a repeating name, Santa Maria, in conversations. At first he mistook it for Santa Marta in Colombia, but later realized it referred to a small town in Brazil. This discovery brought him closer to finding the man responsible for his daughter's death. All the collected information about Nancy's case was sent to Interpol. Officers focused on identifying a person in Brazil, Jair Enrique Santa de Carmani, who matched the killer's description. After obtaining his fingerprints from a cup, they confirmed he was indeed Jaime. An operation with Brazilian police led to his arrest on January 29, 2020. Jaime admitted his identity, but denied the murder. Nancy's father, Martin, was informed, and after more than 3 decades of pursuit, he was so emotional that he fell to his knees and cried. After his arrest, Haim called his wife and son, and they all thanked God for finally achieving justice. However, things became more complicated. According to Interpol's investigation, Haim fled to Brazil with his parents' financial support and obtained fake documents. He established a new life in Brazil, starting a business, getting married, and having 2 children. Interestingly, he used his real name for his children's birth certificates. A month before his arrest, he legally married his partner to take advantage of Brazilian law, preventing extradition to Colombia. Haim remained in a Brazilian prison, continuing to deny his guilt and providing a new version of the events surrounding the tragic death. According to Haim's account, Nancy consumed banned substances with alcohol that night, which left her in a state she didn't want her parents to see. After being intimate, she agreed to take a shower. However, while she was in the bathroom, a gunshot occurred. Haim claimed he found her still alive with a weak pulse and rushed her to the hospital, hoping she would survive. He explained that after receiving the news of her death while in Brazil, he decided not to return to avoid arrest. This version, however, doesn't account for crucial evidence, including gunpowder residue on his hands. As a result of the toxicological analysis, it was revealed that Nancy had not consumed any substances or alcohol on the night of her death, debunking Haim's claim. This made his story seem untruthful. Later, Haim, with his lawyer's help, tried to adjust his version, claiming he fled to Brazil only to avoid judicial error after losing hope of proving his innocence. However, this new account also failed to explain key evidence, like gunpowder on his hands and his DNA under Nancy's nails. After a year of being together, Jaime confessed everything to his wife. She believed him and defended him publicly, including on Brazilian TV, where her claims were not taken seriously. She seemed to be in denial, refusing to accept the reality of his guilt. Jaime's long-term hiding and Brazil's legal limitations protected him from extradition, as the statute of limitations for the crime had expired after 20 years. Martin, Nancy's father, fought this, and the case was brought to court for a final decision on the extradition. After 26 years of pursuit, the murder case of 18-year-old Nancy Mestre, who was brutally killed in Colombia, found resolution. Her father, Martin, used social networks and modern investigation techniques to track down Jader Enrique Santa de Carmani, Nancy's boyfriend and the prime suspect, hiding in Brazil. Jader had fled after the murder, creating a false identity. Despite delays and legal complications, he was finally extradited in 2023 to Colombia, where he now faces justice for Nancy's murder. The Mestre family's relentless efforts brought long-awaited accountability. The fugitive was rearrested on May 1, 2023, after attempting to flee again following his temporary release. Nancy's family now awaits a fair trial and hopes that Jaime will reveal the identity of his accomplice. They also seek justice against anyone who helped hide evidence or participated in the crime. Nancy's family remains committed to seeking full accountability for her tragic death. Please share your thoughts in the comments, like the video if it was informative, and hit the bell for updates on this case.